Did you know that communication might not be a problem in your relationship? Because we all talk, we all communicate, but we might be talking too much about the wrong things. Stay tuned to this episode of Couples Pursuit. Hello, this is Vincent
And Valerie
Woodard.
Woodard.
And on this episode of Couples Pursuit, we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about communication with our special guest, Dr. Bonnie. Welcome, Dr. Bonnie.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me.
We're going to start off with just telling our audience a little bit about you and who you are. Okay, Dr.
Great.
Bonnie has been featured on Good Morning America, the Huffington Post, the Oprah Winfrey Network, the Oprah Winfrey Show, correct?
Yes.
The Today Show, and The View. Dr. Bonnie Eaker Weil is a relationship and marriage counselor that specializes in couple and relationship therapy to bridge intimacy issues, keeping relationships thriving. Her practice in marriage and family therapy has helped individuals and couples save their relationship and marriages. Dr. Bonnie's 98% success rate of couples who stay together speaks to her proven system and groundbreaking work, including that adultery is a disease that can be prevented and cured. She provides support on the phone to clients all over the world.
All over the world.
Wonderful. Welcome, Dr. Bonnie. We can't wait to hear about all this good stuff.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, this is so awesome. I thank you so much for joining our episode.
Yes.
You didn't hesitate when I reached out to you. And I just thank you so much for dropping by. I love the fact that technology allows us to do this. We don't have to necessarily be in the same place. And
That's right.
especially with what you do, you also counsel families and couples and individuals where you can help people all over the world. And so tonight, or on this show, you're helping our group. And I just thank you for sharing your knowledge and just joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and it's so great to be. It's so great to be here because I just love helping people. I've been doing this since I'm 7.
Wow.
I've been a family therapist in my family since I'm 7.
Wow. I was going to ask you, what is it that prompted you to go into this line of work? What encouraged you to do that?
Well, my father committed adultery for 25 years, and for the next 25 years, he stopped after I went to school, and he met my teacher. And he had been in therapy for 8 years and couldn't figure it out. And my mentor helped put our whole family back together again.
Wow.
So it was just so amazing. But, I remember when I was 7 years old, my father was crying. And I said, "What happened, Dad?" And he goes, "I don't want our family to break up." I had no idea what he was talking about, but I was 7 years old, and I put my arms around him and I said, "Dad, it'll be okay."
Wow.
So that's how it started. And my mom believes in love conquers all. And if you ever want to see a couple work and go to therapy, they were sweethearts when they were young, but they didn't know how to get close, and they didn't know how to take space from each other, and they didn't know how to do it. So, but I am so proud of them. And that's why, I wrote Adultery, the Figurable Sin. That was my first book. And my parents put little notes in there and actually letters that they had sent to each other during that time that they got the help.
Wow.
And so how brave are my parents that they gave me the permission
Yes.
to write the book and tell their story. I was my father said to me, I was so amazed. My father said, "Look, I don't want people to make the same mistake. I want them to know that help is available if you hang in there, and love conquers all." So that's kind of where my 98% comes from. I don't think it's just my skills. I think it's my belief in people and in my parents and my family. They said, you got to work hard and make the effort and don't run away too soon. And
That's
I think that's a
right.
mistake that a lot of, it's like a starter house. My patient said, "Oh, this is a starter relationship." I said, "No, this is not like a starter house. You got to put in the work and effort."
Yes.
We talked about that before. You said that, and I love the way you put it, that you're not against divorce. I don't think, if it's physical abuse or some of the other
Abuse,
factors,
yeah.
but
Right.
just the fact that you're just quit. Sometimes we quit too soon, and we
Give
don't
up too
put
easily.
in the work to try to save the marriage because we know it's going to be work. Can you share some more about that?
That's true. Well, I think it goes back to like when we first got married, my husband and I, it was our second marriage as both of us. We both got married when we were very young. And when we got married, we said a divorce is never going to be an option. And I don't think that many couples go into it that way. And we said, no matter what we go through, no matter what happens, it's not an option. And, we went into that with such a commitment that it was so amazing. And I tell my patients that, I said, most of them don't come in with that. They actually, something, they'll have a fight and they'll say, I'm going to get a divorce. And I said, no, you can't throw that word around because nobody's going to feel grounded. You have to know that you're going to be there for the long haul, because you know what? Relationships are supposed to be difficult because you're picking a person who gives you the most trouble. That is a given. And it's supposed to be that way.
Right.
Oh my goodness. You picked me. You remember now? I picked you. I picked you. I picked you.
Tried and proven. No, I'm just joking.
No.
But you know what I mean? Because you pick a person who's going to challenge you in the ways you need to be challenged.
Right.
And if you hang in there, you're going to become a better person. You become the best version of yourself. And you know what the crazy thing is? Like sometimes my husband will say something and he'll say, oh, that was a Bonnie idea. And then I'll say that, and then I'll do something and I'll say, oh, that's a Jeff idea. So we have actually become similar in some ways and taken the pieces that we love about the other person,
right?
Which in the beginning we thought, was kind of like a power struggle. But then we started to appreciate, wait a second, you're neater than me. And I really want to learn how to be neat. So that's why I picked you. So I'm not going to get mad at you when you tell me to hang up my clothes, because I want that.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's kind of what I mean by picking a person who gives you the most trouble. But it's supposed to be. And if you understand that, then people aren't going to want to get divorced, because they go to the second and third, and people come in all the time. The second and third marriage, they actually look alike. Their ex-wives and ex-husbands look exactly alike.
I've seen that. They pick the same person.
Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yes.
So, but they think getting rid of a person gets rid of a problem. No, it doesn't. It gives you another one.
It doesn't.
Wow, that is so
That's
awesome.
So good.
Yeah.
There's something that I tell my children, but I'll share with anyone. Wherever you go, there you are, right? So
yes.
If you haven't gotten rid of the issues that you had in the marriage, if you don't settle them, then you won't be able to settle them in the next relationship. It'll just come back up.
That is so beautiful. That's true what you just said. And I hope people listening and understand that. That's why if you run away from your partner, most of the time, unless it's an abusive relationship or someone is, alcoholic and not stopping drinking, or adulterer and doesn't stop. But if you run away from that person, you're really running away from yourself. That's exactly You know what I mean?
That says it even better. I love that, because what happens is Vince and I have been married it'll be 22 years coming up soon. We've been together nearly 25.
Wow.
And there were several times where we both wanted to run away until we figured out, okay, we're gonna stick to this thing, and we're going to do all the work, the good, the bad, the ugly. And if we didn't both face the issues that we had internally, then we couldn't collectively go forward. And if we separated before settling those issues, they would just come up again.
Exactly.
So true.
So Dr. Bonnie, this topic that we so many we can go, oh Lord, I just want to keep interviewing you. But anyway, I want to get to this topic when you said that communication is not necessarily the issue, because we all talk, we all communicate, is that we're talking too much about the wrong things. Please.
So I'm going to give my mentor, Dr. Thomas Fogarty, he was so brilliant. He's the one that coined the phrase pursuer distancer, that 80% of men are distancers and 80% of women are pursuers.
Oh, okay. And
the first time I studied under him, he said to me, couples talk a relationship to death. This is what is ruining. They would have a little session themselves before they came in to see him. And then when they came in to see him, they had nothing to say to him because they talked themselves out, and they were far apart because they were totally disconnected.
Wow.
So he's the one that taught me that men are allergic to women's emotionality. That's a given. That's 80% of men. 20% are like pursuers, but 80% that are distancers, they walk out of the room when you say anything, like if you're having a conflict, they're not listening. And you're talking and they're walking, they're not listening. Walk, talk. So he said, let's find a different way, because it's not that people don't communicate. They do communicate, but they communicate too much. You know what I see when I go out to dinner? Next door is a couple sitting next to me and they're arguing. They had a glass of wine, which is not what you should be doing when you go out to dinner and start having a conversation. If you want to have wine, don't have a conversation. And they're talking about the relationship while they're having a $100 or $150 dinner. And they're talking it to death. So what we talk about is compartmentalize when you want to have a talk and keep it away from your fun. And so I want people to understand action. I want people to take action in the relationship as opposed to communication. Okay. Save the communication for affirmations, which I want people to do every day, which is say something nice to your partner every single day. Not by text, not by email. That's the thing I think that people don't understand. They need to hear the voice. So you could do it on a voicemail if you want to say it on the phone or in person. What is great about you today? Oh, you made my lunch, or you made a great dinner last night. Okay. Because not the bad things, but what's the good things? So we have that in our emotional bank account, right? And then, so that's communicating, but it's with an action. So you're affirming that person. You're not communicating and talking a relationship to death. Or mini connections. How many people do you know that don't say hello when they come in? They're on the phone, they're talking to the kids.
I know just regular people like that. They come into a room.
That's a pet peeve.
Yeah. I'm like, hello. You know
I know.
You don't
it's
see me?
exactly. Or they're reading the mail. They come in and they're reading the mail. They don't even say hello to their husband or their wife. You give a kiss. You look in the person's eyes. I call it a mini connection. And you don't have to talk if you don't feel like it. Maybe you had traffic on the way, or maybe you're tired. But the same thing in the morning when you leave. How many people don't even know? My patient said, I didn't even know he left. I said, what do you mean? He left to go to work? He said, say goodbye to you and give you a kiss and a hug. And what about at night? I call that mini connection. Cuddle at night. If you don't want to make love, fine, but cuddle before you go to bed, just like you did when you were a kid and did your prayers. Do your prayer. You're grateful with your partner. Just one or two things. I'm grateful to have you in my life. I'm grateful. I say to my husband, I'm grateful you married me. I'm grateful that you love me. And I'm grateful that you're still attracted to me. Because, I see a lot of people that are not attracted anymore. So that's a mini connection. Goodbye, hello, cuddle, and look in each other's eyes for 20 seconds at night before you go to bed, because that's the intimacy. And don't talk for 20 seconds. Feel the love. Feel the power of your love.
Oh, I like that.
Feel your power.
Yes, the power, because love is the most powerful thing, and we don't use it. That's what I'm saying about the communication, because communication can sometimes drive it away. But something like looking in your eyes, and then I like before bed a 20-second hug. Now, the 20-second hug, you have to stand up. You do it chest to chest. If you do 20 seconds, and we count when we do it, you will feel a dopamine rush. It is the actual rush, the same rush.
Yeah, them hugs
Valerie,
feel good.
if you went shopping,
That's so
if we went on a shopping spree, you would feel the same rush. Or if you had a drink of alcohol, you would feel the same rush. It's a dopamine rush and high that you got just from the heat of the two of you and the love and the power of your love. The other thing is a 30-second kiss. And I talked about that on the Today Show, where a 30-second kiss will bring out the oxytocin, and oxytocin is a cuddle hormone that we all have when we kiss. And the problem is most people aren't kissing. Okay, so I'm suggesting, instead of talking this relationship to death, you are talking through the kissing. Okay, and how many people do that? I suggest you do that once a day. It's 30 seconds. And you'd be surprised if you had any anger or relationship debris. It dissolves the anger or the relationship debris.
That's beautiful. I love all of that, and we're going to share that with credit to you, Dr. Bonnie, with our listeners. There's one of those things. Well, a couple of those things we do. We do something called hug breaks. We spend a lot of time on the computer working on different projects, and sometimes we'll just get up, either him or I get up and stop and come over and do that embrace. You know, it could be 20 seconds, it could be longer, but it
that's
does.
beautiful.
It feels wonderful.
It's like we're checking in because we could be in the same room, but we're doing. Like, I'm on a computer. She might be on a laptop, or I might be reading something or whatever. And it's like, okay, we're in the same room, but we're not really together.
Right.
And so let's just get up and take a break to come together, you know, and just feel each other. And it's that rush, you know. You said that dopamine, that kind of that reward, like, okay, we're still good, you know, we're okay. I feel good. So, and then we go back to doing whatever we're doing. And then the cuddle night, I got the. I want to get to, but anywho, I like that cuddle.
Beautiful, because you see, you're doing what I'm saying.
Done, check,
you're doing the talking through that hug, and you probably don't realize it, but that's a dopamine rush. That is such a beautiful thing, and I love that what you just said about that we're okay, because you know, when my husband and I, if we have a little disagreement, one of us always says, "Are we okay?" You know, meaning that, are we resolved? And you know, this isn't going to go into something else. One of us is not going to feel resentful or bad or abandoned. And it's such an important, are we okay? It just makes you feel secure and grounded. So I love that you do that, because we do the same thing. And you know, that brings me to the taking the temperature of the relationship. Which I want people to do once a week. And this is where you do have communication, but it's more of an action oriented, because the question I want you to ask is, am I loving you the way you need to be loved? Okay. And it's the action. So then, and then we have to say, okay, well, what did I do to make you feel loved this week? You see, I didn't say, what did I not do? What are you upset about? It's the positive. What did I do this week that made you feel loved?
Wow.
You see? And then once a week, because you're taking we need to take the temperature of the relationship. We need to pay attention. And if, for instance, like when I was working on my book, I knew that I wasn't spending enough time with my husband, and I asked him to let me know. So when I asked the question, am I loving you the way you need to be loved? He said, yes, I just miss you though. I said, fine, then I will make some time. I had a deadline the next day, but I still made the time to go out to dinner with him, you know, just like an hour, because I want to pay attention to him. He's more important than anything. And then he doesn't resent my work or writing a book. But you see, what that check-in is so important, but it's an action-oriented check-in, not just a communication. What can I do? Oh, spend more time with me. Bring me flowers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know exactly what you're saying. That is so awesome. That check-in, I think it's something that everybody has to put on. You know, I know we dropped a lot of knowledge, and that communicating without vocalizing it.
Yeah, it's nonverbal ways of communicating.
And that I think it goes, you know, kind of abandoned in a lot of relationships, because, you know, it's like, hello, goodbye, or how you doing? How was your day? You know, and it's like, okay, well, click with the remote and let's look at TV. And maybe we do it, you know, unknowingly, not really realizing that, okay, we've communicated, but we haven't really connected. And
that's right.
So these nuggets right here, as far as touching each other, holding each other, hugging, intentional, looking at each other's eyes and gazing, and the cuddling, you know, I like that.
Reconnecting. He said that a few times. You can tell what his love language is. Right, personal touch. But that's okay. That's okay. As long as I know that and I provide that for him, it's not an issue.
That's right.
I think it's wonderful, the things that you're sharing with us. Now, I find that when people's needs are not met, that's when they begin to wander. They become,
that's right.
You know, dissatisfied. They become, you know, bitter or resentful, like you said, maybe of your job or whatever is taking that attention from them. And then at a moment of weakness for them, something else can creep in. That's not true for everyone.
That's very true.
But I think when people say, oh, I had an affair, it wasn't important, it only happened one time, she doesn't mean anything to me. All of that means nothing. We need to find out why you're doing it,
That's
and we
right.
need to find out if you want to stop doing it, and then how you can do that, and how we can get past all of the damage that happened. Because, so when you say adultery is a disease, tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, that's one of your books, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's very important, because I found out from my father that he had a disease. It's exactly like alcoholism, only people don't see it as disease. People judge it, and they think something's wrong with the character. But usually when I work with a doctor, and we balance the brain chemicals. We take the test of the serotonin and the dopamine, and we see that most people that commit adultery are burned out. They could be burned out from their childhood. A lot of times it's coming from their childhood because it's hereditary, that they either saw it, or the emptiness, which makes the brain chemicals, like the serotonin is affected or something. There's emptiness in the family, there's loneliness in the family, and it's passed down from generation to generation. It comes out in adultery. And by balancing the brain chemicals, we change the diet of the person, because there's also a connection between sugar and thrill seeking, which is what adultery is, thrill seeking. And everyone that we have tested had some kind of a imbalanced blood sugar. Some people had bipolar, some people had diabetes. They were using the sugar to calm themselves down and help, but it actually gives you the thrill seeking. So there is that connection. And we put people on diets where they give up sugar, just as similar to alcoholism.
Wow.
And they can control better. And we give them supplements. And the supplements there's a couple over-the-counter supplements that are amazing, that really help the brain get more clear and help your judgment. So it's a lot of that plus the therapy, but it makes the therapy easier because the people can control themselves. Like my father was going to therapy for 8 years, and he kept saying, look, I don't want to hurt my family, but I have to do it. He was having like an OCD, where he would have OCD, where he would feel that he had to do this. He said, I would be in the room with your mom, and I would have to pick up the phone and call this woman, even though I knew it was wrong. And nobody knew how to treat that. And he was a sugar. He had a candy drawer growing up. And so I started to put 2 and 2 together, and they took him off of sugar. It was amazing how much he was able to control, but also he was able to find out that it was in his family, and that he had seen something when he was young, and he was trying to master it. So there's a lot of things like that. And, when they came up to my school, I was studying family therapy at the time. And I asked if I could bring my family in, because they had been in therapy for years, and my father could not stop cheating. And in 5 minutes, Dr. Fogarty, who is my mentor, said, well, what do you think you're all doing? Because this was family systems theory. Well, what do you think you're doing? And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, what did you, not that it's your fault, but how did you contribute to your father's loneliness? And I took a step back, because I was angry at my father. I had no idea I had a part in this, not that it was my fault. He said, well, were you close to your mother? I said, yeah, I was close to my mother because my father was distant. And he said, yeah, but did you do anything to reach your father? And it turned out my father was very lonely, and he was isolated. He started to isolate himself, but we all helped by moving away from him, which just happens with couples. Someone's feeling rejected, they move away, and then you move away. So that was the turning point when I saw my father as a wounded child, and I realized there was a disease involved. Now, that's not to excuse what someone's doing, but we're helping that person. And he stopped cheating for the next 25 years. And my parents lived so happily in their golden years. But again, he worked his tail off, and so did my mom, and so did all of us. But and guess what? 3 weeks later, I met the person that was going to be my husband. That was no coincidence.
Wow.
Yeah, because Dr. Fogarty kept saying to me, how come you don't date, because I opened up the wound with my father, and I saw him differently.
Yeah.
I wasn't angry at him. I realized that he was struggling, and we were not helping his struggle. So it's a family affair, so to speak,
Wow. Yeah, that's really good. I think it's great that you bring up the fact that, I've never heard about the sugar and, the thrill seeking and all those things. I know about thrill seeking from my work I used to do with human trafficking prevention
Okay.
years past. But also, I'm glad to hear you talk about the fact that the past does affect the relationship that a person has with sex. With it also affects the relationship they have with food. You know,
Absolutely.
all of those things come into play. And if our spouse behaves a certain way, we shouldn't just look at the way they behave, but try to find out why
Mm-hmm.
they behave that
Exactly.
way. Yeah,
Exactly. And then, of course, we're not, and we're not excusing it,
not at all.
which my
Not at
father
all.
used to say, I'm not trying to put this on anybody, but just please help me. And he struggled for 8 years. He was in therapy 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And no one was, they didn't understand. He was saying, I have some, he didn't call it, he said, I have a compulsion. And see, that's what the brain chemicals, when we see that as a disease also. Now, the compulsion can come from stress growing up,
Right.
that it's in your body and the anxiety, and then you're trying to relieve it. Okay. And this thrill seeking. And that's why some people will say, well, how come you're attracted to that woman and we don't have a physical relationship like you had with that woman? Because that woman is forbidden fruit and it's thrill seeking.
Right.
And that's why we needed to look at it as a chemical thing as well, because you can't just do talk therapy. We go back to action oriented as opposed to just talk therapy. You do both, but you have to do the action piece, which is the diet, exercise, all of that. Because if you just talk, the person still has the compulsion.
Wow, that
Yeah,
is.
we still have, you know what I mean?
We have to have you back on the show
Yeah.
to talk more about that, because a lot of people. I mean, I know that's so much to unpack. You wrote a whole book about it, so of course there's so much to
Yes.
unpack. My goodness, I I don't. I know we got so much to talk about. Look, I really want to get to. I want to get to that topic, but we're going to have to come back for the interview. I want to go back to what you said about the couples talking during dinner. That stuck out to
Oh.
me when you said that we go to a restaurant, we order the fancy wine or whatever some people do, or the meal, $150 meal, and we're trying to dissect and repair the relationship when we're supposed to be enjoying ourselves, but yet we find ourselves in a situation where it can get sticky, and you try to enjoy the steak,
That's
What
right.
would you recommend couples talk about? Because we have a date night. We schedule a date night, and it's
Oh,
not
great.
like they so structured a schedule. No, this is because our lives are busy, and we have to schedule time. We make time for each
We
other because
make
we like
time
each
for one
other.
another. Yeah.
But it's also we have to make time to intentionally go out
Yes.
and spend time without anybody else. Sometimes we might double date. We've done that maybe a couple of times, but most of the time we are together and just enjoying each other's company. So, what do you recommend couples talk about if they're not discussing their
Issues.
relationship?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good thing that you do, because we do the same thing. I call it Fantasy Friday. We take off Fridays, and
Okay.
and that's it. If someone asks us out, a couple, we say, I'm sorry, this is Fantasy Friday. We could do Saturday with you.
Okay.
And my husband came up with this idea that when we take a walk or we swim in the lake or anything like that, or we go out for dinner, we don't talk about problems.
Wow.
Okay. And this is really important. He came up with the idea, and I have it in my book. My book is Make Up, Don't Break Up. And a lot of the stuff in there are things that he came up with, which are really brilliant. And he's a periodontist, so he's not into the field, but he came up with this. He goes, when we take a walk or we play golf or we play tennis, we're not going to talk about any problems. We're not going to talk about taxes. You don't talk about problems, or if your mom is sick or whatever. And we both have to, but you have to actually coach each other, because it's very hard
to do.
to sit down and not talk about a problem, like you said. So we make this deal that one of us has to say, no, no, no. And we go out to dinner, and this is very important. No problems are discussed. If we can compartmentalize, if we want to talk about taxes, we make a date. We set a time limited with permission by appointment. And one of us wears a bulletproof vest, especially if you talk about taxes, right? So another one wears a bulletproof vest, not going to get reactive. And it's time limited. So only 5 or 10 minutes. See, this is again the communication. And so that's not going to be when we're going out to dinner. When we go out to dinner, we're talking about nice things. We're not talking about politics. We're not talking about Ukraine. We're not talking about bad things or hard things.
Like, give an example.
What would you talk about?
Okay, well, we would talk about like fun things, like what vacation do we want to go on? You know, like now that COVID is over, what were you thinking? Where would you like to go? Or I like this thing where we do like once a month, one of us kidnaps the other person. So, and people may like this. It's a surprise. Okay. So, you know, like maybe he's going to take me to the mountains, or he's going to take me maybe to a museum, or I'm going to take him to look at cars. He likes to look at cars, but we don't tell the person. You may have to just tell them what to wear or what to pack or whatever. You can take the person to a spa, but again, it's a surprise. And this is good for people that need thrill seeking, but not the thrill seeking with an affair. You're having, right? You're having an affair with your own partner. So it goes right back to thrill seeking. So once a month, you're kidnapping your partner, so they have something to look forward to. And you could talk about that while you're having dinner. Now at dinner, you could also do the affirmations.
Okay.
You know, I really like Valerie, you have beautiful hair now. So a lot of men, they don't notice, right? The woman gets her hair done and men don't notice, as an example. That's why I hear this all the time. So you'd be sitting there, and Vincent, you'd be saying, you know, Valerie, your hair looks really beautiful. Did you just get it done? And that starts the conversation. Now we're having a positive vibe here. And also hold hands when you're having dinner together. Okay. And smile and look at each other's eyes and just talk about the sunset that is out there that you're looking out the window. Try to you arrange the dinner for where sunset, or breakfast with a sunrise. Okay. And you know what? Also talk about and do the things that you did when you first fell in love. That's what I want people to do. So now you're talking about, oh, remember when we first fell in love when we used to go canoeing? Would you like to go canoeing? You know?
Your phone went out.
We lost your picture.
There you go.
Okay.
So you know what I'm saying? Like, that's fabulous that we could try to do something like that and build on what happened when we first fell in love, because most people don't do that.
Ooh, that is so awesome.
That is so good.
I know.
Especially once you have children, and then you have a mortgage, and then you may have a business, and all of the things that come along with that, the everyday, casual, comfortable, on a whim conversations kind of get pushed to the back burner.
Exactly.
So you can tell us more about the books that you wrote. I know
and the documentary.
And the documentary, yes. Please.
Oh, yes. So the documentary was with Oprah, and it was on Discovery Channel, and it was about the brain chemicals and the biochemical, I call it biochemical craving for connection, the connection with adultery as a disease. And some people, you know, that I've helped that participated in it. And then the books.
That was called Unfaithful?
Yes, it's called Unfaithful. And that's where I discussed the biochemical craving connection, the disease, and that it's treatable and forgivable. And then the book that I wrote, the first book I wrote, was called Adultery, the Forgivable Sin, because I feel that it's forgivable, but it's also a sin in the sense that you hurt someone. And Dr. Fogarty, my mentor, wrote the foreword in it. And then this is my pride and joy, Make Up, Don't Break Up. Some of the things that I just talked about today are in this book, Make Up, Don't Break Up.
Okay, great.
And my husband contributed to a lot of that. And then the other book I wrote was Financial Infidelity, which is similar to adultery, but it's about money. And money and adultery are very connected.
Wow. We'll have to have you back just to talk about that.
Yeah, it's very connected.
Wow.
That is so awesome.
Where can they get these books? Are you on all outlets?
Yes. You can get it on Amazon, all the books, Financial Infidelity, Make Up, Don't Break Up, and Adultery, the Forgivable Sin. And then my website is www, but it's doctor spelled out, DOCTOR Bonnie, BONNIE.com. And I like to personally answer questions. I have a special number, 212-606-3787, 212-606-3787. I like to answer questions. Even if someone doesn't want to do a package, I have packages and consults and, you know, different things that they could do with me on fighting fair and learning how to have passion and safety in their marriage, and learning how to fight fair, because with conflict, you can have passion If you don't have conflict, you don't have passion and safety. So if not, they can call me on that number and I answer questions, because I think it's more personal than the email, because a lot of times, you know, you get emails and it's like, they can hear my voice and I can answer a question or two.
Right.
I'm happy to do that. And if they want to work on safety and passion, it's a beautiful journey, and it's not as hard as a journey without safety and passion. That's what I always tell people.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. Once again, I thank you for dropping these knowledge bombs. I'm calling them, because you say something and I want to go off on that like a squirrel, and then you say something else and I want to go there, and I'm like, wait a minute. I want to try to stay to the topic at hand. We definitely have to have you back about the adultery. That is
financial adultery.
That too also, but the adultery is not a sin. Is adultery not a sin?
Adultery is the forgivable sin, and the one that's the biochemical craving for connection.
Okay, yeah. So
that's the other book. I wrote a book, Biochemical Craving for Connection. But next time I would love to talk about the brush with death, which goes into adultery or whatever. And the brush with death is not anything with communication. It's not communicating for a weekend, for overnight, for 4 to 6 weeks. It's good for people that are addicted or selfish or stubborn, and people that don't feel appreciated or they're taken for granted. The brush with death is a pause where you both agree, and you don't do it with anger, but you'd be surprised. It's so helpful. Instead of the talking, people are walking and they're realizing how much you mean to that person, and they miss you, and you never get taken for granted again. That's what my parents did to put their relationship back together again.
Yes, we'll have to talk about that.
Wow, the brush with death.
The brush with death. Because that's so poetic, because it really is. It gives them a moment of introspection, right?
That's right.
And you have time to think about what it is you've done, instead of someone barking at you about what you've done, and then you become defensive, and then that becomes counterproductive. So I have time to think about what I've done, and I don't have any reason to argue back with you, because you're not engaging me. And so then I can say, well, now that it's quiet, I have to face what I've done. And
that's right.
I miss this person. Do I want to live in this space permanently without him or her?
That's right.
Or do I want to do the work to make it better for both of us?
You got that, Valerie. And you see, it's not about communication, because you're not communicating at all. You have to not communicate. And then, like you said, look at what you come to. You would never come to that by having a talking the relationship to death, because you've talked for how many years or how many days. But that is an experiential experiment that is so amazing. You'd be surprised how amazing that is. And we do that again as a last resort, of course, but we do it with optimism, because most of my patients get back together after the brush with death. And by the way, it sticks with you for the rest of your life. It's like, God forbid, if you had, breast cancer, you would always remember. It doesn't go away. Oh, okay, now we had a brush with death. It is so enlightening. It's unbelievable what it does. And it also speeds up the therapy too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, because you look at it as a survivor, as that, like, it's a champion. Like, we beat it, we overcame. And that's our kind of message. I really never thought about it that deep, but it's like we was at the point of separation to divorce. And now that we're here in this space right here, we celebrate it, and we want to share this with other couples, because to let them know that we were at that point, maybe that you might be at. And we, these steps, along with prayer and God, and now we're here. And so it's not over just because you think it's over, but it doesn't necessarily have to be over. So
it's just beginning. It's just starting. And really, it is the beginning. And I'm so proud of the two of you, and how wonderful that is, because then you're going to be able to help other people. And by the way, my husband and myself, when we were dating, we did the brush with death. And we're married 33 years. I would not even be here talking about him. But we did the brush with death because he wasn't sure if he wanted to get married again. He was married once before. He didn't know what happened. And that brush with death, one weekend it was. And he called me on Monday and said, I really miss you. I said, yeah, I miss you too. But he wasn't telling me. And I said, well, is there anything else? And he goes, no. And I said, well, I just think that, we got to figure out. And he said, oh, well, if this means that you're going to leave more than a weekend, then I'm going to make this relationship work, even though I'm scared as anything.
Wow.
And I said, well, let's hold hands. Every time you get scared, we'll hold hands. And that's what we did. And we made it through. But so it was the same thing that happened with you, that happened with my parents. And so it's like, it can be done, but you have to have faith and prayer, like you said. You've got to be positive, and you got to believe not only in your partner, but in yourself.
Absolutely.
That is so good. That is so good. Look, so when we send the message out, when y'all see that Brush with Death and that topic, come join us, because I know it's going to be good. I feel it in my bones.
I can't wait to talk about it.
And so I thank you so much again. Is there anything that I didn't ask on this interview? I know we talked about a lot. Was there anything that I didn't ask that you want to share that our viewers should know?
Actually, I think we covered everything. I mean, I was just looking at my little notes here, and everything about just leave people with the fact that when you do the Brush with Death, it is a wake up and a shake up, and sometimes we need that to push us forward. See, I'm about action. I'm not about talking. I'm about walking, and that's why I said you got to be action oriented. One more thing I want to leave people with: connection is one of the most important things in life. And we have it, and we have to not take it for granted. And if one person thinks there's a problem, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And if you see, that is the definition of a problem in family therapy.
Yes.
If just one person says it, you can't say, oh, you're overreacting. Oh, no, that's stupid. And if one of you thinks something's important, it's important.
Yeah.
I want to leave people with that. If they follow that, they will have a happy life, because most people don't know what that means. They argue. No, it doesn't mean your partner's right. They're telling you how they feel. And if I say to you, Valerie and Vincent, it's cold right now in this room and I'm with you, you can't say to me, no, it's not, we're fine. It doesn't mean that. Maybe I could even have the flu and tell you that I could be shivering, but you have to acknowledge that I'm having a problem, even if you don't think there's a problem.
Your code, and not only are you cold, you're having the problem with it. It's not so much it's just chilly or wind blew, but you're having a problem, a physical reaction to the temperature in this room. You can't dismiss that. Whether you think it's hot, you're burning up, but that other person is having a problem. That is so good. I thank you again for coming by, and I thank you for watching this episode of Couples Pursuit. And look, stick around. We have more interviews coming up. We have more topics like these and more, just trying to help, couples all around the world. I just feel it in my bones that whenever somebody watches this video, they're going to come away with something that can save their marriage. So if you got something out of this video, or if you think somebody else could get something out of this video, please share with a friend. Please like, and also check out Dr. Bonnie. She has a wealth of information on her website, and give her a call. She dropped the number for you. So we're going to put that also in the comments in the description down below. So thank you again for joining us. Please share with someone, and until next time, we'll see you on Couples Pursuit. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much.